My parents helped my husband leave me because I couldn't give them grandkids. 3 years later, they saw me pushing a stroller and suddenly wanted back in. That was the moment I realized they didn't miss me. They missed what they thought I owed them. I grew up as an only child in a house that wanted a son. My mom would say it out loud, like it was normal. I spent years trying to be enough for people who kept moving the goalposts. Then I met Mark. When I introduced him, my parents suddenly acted interested in my life. They invited us over and treated him like a prize. My mom would tell him, "You're the son we never had," right in front of me. I swallowed it. We got married, and 6 months later, my parents started pushing for a baby. I wasn't ready, but Mark was excited, so we tried. Months passed, then tests happened, and the doctor said I was infertile. When we told our parents, my dad literally walked out. My parents stopped visiting, stopped calling, stopped pretending. Mark and I talked IVF, but we couldn't afford multiple rounds yet, so we paused. My parents acted like I'd refused on purpose, like I was withholding a child to punish them. I went no contact after one nasty call where my mom basically said I was worthless as a woman. Mark comforted me for a minute, then he got cold. He stopped touching me. He stopped looking at me. 3 months later, he brought home divorce papers and said, "I don't want to get into it." The divorce took forever. A couple weeks after he moved out, I found out he was living with my parents, like they'd adopted him and kicked me to the curb. I sat alone in an empty apartment, staring at the wall, realizing my family had simply swapped me out. After it was final, I moved, changed my number, blocked them all, and rebuilt my life in quiet pieces. I still wanted a child though, not for them, for me. So I did IVF with a donor, and 4 months ago, I had my daughter. The first time she fell asleep on my chest, I felt like I could breathe again. Then I ran into them on my street, with my baby right there. They were leaving a house nearby when they spotted me. My mom's eyes went straight to the stroller and she said, "Is that yours?" Mark stepped closer and said, "I've been thinking about you." My dad nodded like he was approving a deal. "Invite us over. We need to talk." Mark glanced at the stroller again. "Maybe this is a sign," he said. I snapped. "I'd rather invite bloodthirsty wild animals into my house than you." Mark tried the soft voice. "We were disappointed. We didn't handle it well." My mom reached for my arm like we were buddies again. I pulled away. I pointed at my parents. "You cut me off when I was grieving." I nodded at the stroller. "Now you see a baby and you remember my name?" Then I looked Mark dead in the eye and said, "You didn't leave me. You got recruited." That night, an unknown number called. It was Mark, with my parents whispering behind him like stage moms. He begged for a second chance and blamed it all on disappointment. Then my mom chimed in, "This is why we cut you off. You were selfish. You demanded comfort." I hung up. The next day I called Mark's parents, just to understand. They told me my parents had been taking Mark to dinners without me, giving him money, buying him gifts. When I hesitated on IVF, they sold him a story. He deserved better, and I was holding him back. He let them feed his ego until it ate our marriage. A week later, I went back to work and left my daughter with my nanny, Lena. Around noon, Lena called, whispering, "He's outside." Then she said, "He's drunk. He's trying to kick your door in." I turned my car around and called 911. Everything went slow after that. First, I heard my baby crying through the phone. Then I heard his voice, slurring my name. Next, I heard the thud of his boot on my door. After that, Lena whispered, "I'm taking her out the back." Then the sirens cut through the street. When I pulled up, the cops were already there. Mark was swaying on my porch, still arguing like he belonged. I didn't argue back. I handed over the security footage and said, "Press charges." The restraining order came fast after that because cameras don't care about sob stories. My parents backed off once police got involved. Now they just smear me to anyone who'll listen, acting like I'm cruel for keeping their grandchild away. Most people don't buy it. They know what kind of family abandons you until they want something. They wanted a grandkid and a doormat. They got neither. All I have now is my daughter, my peace, and a front door that stays locked.